We're looking at one private school that some say has the best reopening plan for coronavirus. Avenues, the World School, the most expensive independent school in New York City, released their plan to continue learning. And while the plan may look promising on paper, many students and teachers are not feeling so optimistic. With me now for more on her reporting is Carolyn Lewis. She's a freelance journalist. You looked at Avenues, the World School. What can you tell us about their plan to reopen the school during the coronavirus and why it was hailed as one of the best?
Well, Avenues, has a lot of resources. It's one of the most expensive private schools in the city. It is a for-profit school, and they had a plan where students coming back, would have a special app to log how they were feeling every morning. They would have their temperatures taken, and they would stay in pods all day when they were learning. And I think that they were hailed as one of the best because they also had all of these special devices, chips on students' ID cards that could track who they interacted with in case they needed to do contact tracing, things like that. But I think that teachers felt that the concerns that they still had about the plan were not being taken seriously. And unlike public schools, most private school teachers are not unionized and so don't really have that collective voice.
Yeah, so let's talk about that, because when you really looked at what was happening in the classrooms, for one, it was almost like the kids were kind of distance learning, but in the classroom, because a lot of their classes were then online anyway. But then the teachers and the concerns over, protecting their health, the teachers really felt like the school was undermining their ability to organize and to confront the administration. Can you talk about their concerns?
Right. So as you mentioned, even though students were coming into school 5 days a week and teachers had to come into school 5 days a week, although they could opt to learn online, the students who were coming into school 5 days a week were staying in one classroom all day, and they were still getting most of their education virtually online because they were staying with just the teacher in the classroom. This was in the upper division. So that means that even though they're coming into school and maybe risking commutes, and the teachers are risking commutes and being in close contact with one another, they're still getting most of their education virtually. So a lot of teachers thought that wasn't worth the risk. And then when teachers in the upper division of the school sent a letter to the administration seeking to delay the start date of the school, as public schools have, and asking for other additional safety measures, they felt that they were their collective voice was dismissed, and the reaction of the administration was to hold one-on-one individual meetings with each faculty member, basically saying, are you in or are you out? Do you want to take a leave of absence, meaning your job is not guaranteed, your income, your health care is not guaranteed, or are you on board with our plan and are you coming in? And a lot of teachers were scared by that. I was told that beforehand, before the letter was written, there were, the teachers were discussing their concerns with each other, in chat threads and things like that. And after the meetings were held, some people said, I can't participate in this anymore. I'm too scared for my job.
You also took a look at how Avenues compares to other private schools. What'd you find?
Well, like I said, most private schools are not unionized, but a handful, have unionized in recent years. And during coronavirus, more schools have looked at teachers have looked at either unionizing or just collectively voicing their concerns because all of these new occupational hazards have been presented. And so at Brooklyn Friends School, teachers did vote to unionize in May, and their head of school basically petitioned the National Labor Relations Board to block that union on the grounds that it violated the school's Quaker values. So that was, actively working against the union. And then I spoke to someone at Packer, another private school in Brooklyn, where they said that they did write a letter, to the administration seeking to delay the start of school, and that they were actually successful with that.
I want to point out, I think in your article, the tuition for the school is like in excess of $50,000 a year, right?
Yeah, nearly $60,000 a year, $56,000, I think.
I'm sort of dumbfounded that for that price, and I presume that the class sizes are relatively small, that a better program that that didn't also, protect both the students and the teachers, that they weren't able to implement that. I mean, did you talk to faculty or anybody at the school to find out why this is the best they could do at that price tag?
I'm not sure, exactly what went into it. The CEO of Avenues, Jeff Clark, did say that they consulted, various, public health organizations and medical experts, teachers in other countries, where they were, like Singapore, where they were looking at their educational model. And they, basically made it sound like they had, consulted all the best people and this is what they came up with. But I think that teachers felt like the, human aspect of what this is actually going to look like for teachers and students didn't really seem like the best option. They had to totally overhaul their curriculum and make it align with the virtual curriculum, because everyone is basically getting a virtual curriculum, even if they're going into school. And so I think that some people did not feel like that was actually the best plan. And even those that were okay with the plan, ultimately, I think just were very concerned with how the school reacted to teachers voicing their concerns.
Avenues is also offering parents the ability to hire a private tutor to teach in their homes, but with a price. Why is this controversial among parents and teachers?
So Avenues already had an online school that was about $30,000 a year. And now for an additional fee, you can hire a private tutor, which, I'm sure that many of the families that send their children to Avenues can afford that. But, there are students whose families don't earn as much and, who might be on financial aid, who I'm sure cannot afford that. And so it does create this hierarchy. They also opened a satellite school in the Hamptons for families that had decamped there during the pandemic. And so I think the whole thing does become very stratified.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the big issues with this online learning for everyone, not just these private schools, is that, you can't offer a two-tiered education. If everyone's paying the same price, then they should get the same level of education, and you shouldn't be able to sort of like upsell parents, particularly at a time like this. Caroline Lewis, thank you so much.
Thank you.